Let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're doing a complete teardown of a company called DecisionCalc Labs. It's this absolutely fascinating study of a founder who built a massive AI-powered software and media brand entirely around one concept: calculated conviction. They literally used a virtual swarm of AI, acting as their chief engineer, their creative director, and even their full-stack developer, to launch an entire business ecosystem from scratch. It is a brilliant masterclass in strategy, branding, and using AI to solve really high-stakes human problems.
So let's kick things off with a little dilemma. Imagine you are staring down this exact choice. Would you take a $30,000 raise if it meant adding a 1-hour commute to your day? It feels like a heavy choice, right? Well, that feeling, that deep anxiety of making the wrong move when the stakes are high, is the exact core antagonist that DecisionCalc Labs targets. They figured out pretty quickly that our absolute biggest enemy in decision-making is the fear of regret. That fear that usually pushes us toward whatever feels safe, even if it ends up costing us our true growth.
Now, on the surface, this looks like basic arithmetic, right? You've got option A, a remote role at $100,000 a year, and option B, an in-office role at $130,000 with that 1-hour commute. Human instinct jumps right at the bigger number. Driven by ego and just, simple math, most of us would take option B in a heartbeat. But DecisionCalc Labs makes this incredible argument that arithmetic is actually a liar. It only shows you the top-line revenue, completely masking what they call the hidden tax on your time and your sanity.
And guys, this is the trap. When their AI host breaks down the invisible math, it is wild. So a standard 2,000-hour work year at $100,000, that's $50 an hour. But add a 1-hour commute each way, and suddenly you're dedicating 2,500 hours to that job. Then factor in about $6,500 for gas and car depreciation, professional wardrobe costs, grab-and-go convenience food, and taxes, and your net gain from that supposed $30,000 raise shrinks down to just $15,000. Divide that by your new 2,500-hour commitment, and you are actually making $46 an hour. It's a literal pay cut. You traded your most liquid asset, your time, for a pure vanity metric.
So, to understand how they built a whole business around solving this, we're going to deconstruct their exact playbook today. On the agenda we have 1. Building an authority engine. 2. The clinical media strategy. 3. The technical blueprint. And finally, 4. The launch playbook.
Let's jump straight into section 1, building an authority engine. So initially, the founder was prototyping this whole thing under kind of a soft, friendly name, Better Path. But they quickly realized that to really stand out, they needed to be a definitive authority. That's when they pivoted to the parent brand, DecisionCalc Labs. They programmed their AI swarm to treat the company as a literal authority engine for high-stakes human choices. And to do this, they engineered a very strict 3-tier product ecosystem to totally eradicate emotional decision-making. First, you have DecisionCalc, their flagship recommendation engine for definitive yes, no, or wait verdicts. Then there's CompareCalc, a comparison platform for when you have complex, multi-option trade-offs. And finally, the Verdict app. This acts as a retention layer where users can actually journal their decisions to verify the accuracy of the math over time. It basically creates this perfect, closed loop of calculated logic.
The absolutely crucial point here is that their mandate wasn't just to do math. No, it was to provide a clinical bridge to professional independence. Turning arithmetic into conviction actually became their permanent tagline. They aren't out here promoting some flashy get-rich-quick scheme. Instead, they are providing entrepreneurs and professionals with a specialized proprietary data model to validate their ideas before they ever pull the trigger. It is all about systematically stripping the emotion completely out of the final choice.
All right, moving right along to section 2, the clinical media strategy. Okay, so to actually drive traffic to these calculators, they obviously needed a killer front end. What did they do? They launched a documentarian noir YouTube channel called The Decision Lab. And it's fronted by this completely fictional, hyper-realistic AI host named The Arbiter. Picture this guy, dressed in dark, tailored clothing, speaking from a dimly lit, super architectural office. To bring him to life, they specifically chose Google Vids over other dedicated AI tools. Why? Because VO 3.1's physical realism and native Lyra 3 audio sync are absolutely perfect for stopping cold audiences mid-scroll. Now, they did debate using tools like Runway or HeyGen, but since they were targeting cold social media traffic, physics-accurate lighting and seamless audio sync were literally make or break. Google Vids let them lock in their brand avatars using the ingredients feature, which meant the Arbiter never had that cheap, glitchy AI look. They knew that uncanny audio or slightly shifting faces make cold audiences swipe away instantly. So they prioritized absolute realism over workflow speed. And to guarantee virality, they programmed their AI with a very strict universal hook formula. Think about it. Cold audiences are just mindlessly scrolling to escape boredom, right? So the arbiter had to introduce immediate visual chaos that their calculations could instantly solve. For their premiere video, they opened with an extreme close-up of this massive wall of glowing red data that suddenly shatters like glass in high-speed physics action, revealing a calm green path forward. Add in a contrarian text overlay and an abrupt sound sync where rushing static just cuts to dead silence. Wow, it is high-fidelity pattern interruption at its absolute best.
Now, you can't have this cold, objective authority figure suddenly break character and yell, "Smash that like button," right? It ruins the whole clinical noir vibe. So, the AI crafted a super precise engagement framework. They completely rebranded engagement. For the first 45 seconds of a video, it's total hook preservation, no asking for anything at all. Then, right at the midpoint, the arbiter will calmly say something like, "Validate this audit with a like." And when it's time for comments, pre-verdict, he demands data, saying, "Post your data below, we are indexing." It's brilliant. It genuinely makes the viewer feel like they're actively participating in a serious clinical study, before concluding with a simple, "Subscribe, forward this protocol."
Which brings us to Section 3, the technical blueprint.
Because let's be real, none of that amazing media stuff matters if the back end doesn't actually convert. So how are they making money from all this traffic? Well, because their calculators naturally pre-qualify really high-intent traffic, they monetize through 100% CPA, or cost per action, affiliate handoffs to giant fintech companies like Rocket Mortgage and Lightstream. They explicitly rejected upfront flat fees for their content. And if you think about it, it makes total sense. If someone spends 10 minutes using their Shelter Strategist tool to calculate the exact nitty-gritty map of renting versus buying, by the time they get that final verdict, they are highly qualified. So handing them off to high-ticket fintech partners on a performance basis provides incredibly clean, predictable revenue for that bottom-of-funnel traffic. But as with any great launch, there was major drama. Right before the Big Bang deployment of the main DecisionCalc.ai site, a critical failure static-locked the entire logic engine. Imagine the panic. The founder is frantically sending these emergency messages to their virtual swarm. The landing page is not working. The instructions disappeared. Please repair it. Something is not right. The interactive sliders were totally frozen. The terms of intelligence vault refused to open. The entire Commute versus Capital math engine was just dead in the water right on the screen. It was an absolute version control nightmare at the worst possible time. And you know what the culprit was? A simple default setting in Mac Text Edit. It was automatically converting straight quotes into curly, smart quotes. In a beautiful, painful bit of irony, Apple's helpful little smart quotes were completely corrupting the HTML and destroying the AI's genius math engine. To a web browser, those curly quotes are just pure gibberish. It totally broke the JSON outputs and shattered the JavaScript sliders across the entire live platform. They actually had to revert to plain text mode just to finally stabilize the code.
All right, let's wrap things up with Section 4, the launch playbook. So, the code is finally fixed, the arbiter's videos are fully rendered, and their 15-second TikTok Splinter edits are ready to fire. They deployed this highly calculated launch sequence using targeted Google search ads. But here's the genius part. They completely avoided broad match keyword waste to protect their budget. Instead, they relied strictly on exact and phrase matches, targeting specific queries like salary versus commute calculator. For days 1 through 14, the bid strategy was set solely to maximize clicks. The goal was just to flood the logic engine with users and feed that initial click data straight to the tracking pixel. Then, once the algorithm learned exactly what a converting user looked like, boom. On day 15, they transitioned the whole system to a maximize conversion strategy. This unapologetic, calculated attitude perfectly fueled their product hunt launch. Just look at this copy. Standard calculators are cowards. They give you numbers, we give you verdicts. I mean, I absolutely love that. It so perfectly positions Decision Path Labs as the ultimate solution to decision anxiety. Standard tools just dump data on you, leaving you alone with the stress of figuring out what those numbers actually mean. Decision Path Labs steps up as the definitive authority, handing you the verdict so you can just move forward without any of the regret. So, as we wrap up this explainer on a fully AI-architected brand launch, it definitely leaves us with one pretty provocative question to chew on. Look at your own life and the choices you're making today. What invisible math is currently draining your own business or your career? Are you being blinded by simple arithmetic? Chasing top-line numbers while totally ignoring those hidden taxes on your time, your sanity, and your true hourly value? Stop guessing. It's time to run your own invisible math and demand some conviction in your next big move. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.